Captain Blood's unchivalrous actions toward Arabella were prompted by necessity, to safeguard her from the men. Now in his cabin on board the boat, he expresses his true feelings. He paces the floor exultantly as Arabella sits watching him.
Arabella. Arabella, to think that you're really here. Here in the cabin of this ship, which I named for you. I've dared to hope that someday you'll be here. To gather all these precious things I have for you. See, Arabella, ankle rings from Persia. And look, red jeweled slippers, long golden chains. And this dress, Arabella, this blue dress. When I saw it, I thought of your eyes. And I knew it was made for you to wear.
I'll never wear it. Nor any plunder gotten by a thief and pirate.
Thief and pirate?
Thief and pirate.
Arabella, you...
I've seen your pirate ways. I've seen myself bargained for and fought over. A combat between jackals.
I thought you understood.
You mean you thought you'd bought me? I suppose I should have regarded that as a compliment. You pirates are used to taking what you want without the formality of purchase. I advise you to go back to your ladies at Tortuga, Captain Blood. To your ladies who are thrilled by your bold, lawless ways. I only hate you and despise you.
I might have expected your thanks for what I've done this day, but very well, let it be so. I'm thief and pirate, and I'll show you how a thief and a pirate can deal. Once you bought me for 10 measly pounds. Now I bought you for considerably more. The amounts of no matter. What matters is that now I own you as you once owned me. You're mine, you understand? Mine to do with as I please.
Captain Blood.
Well?
Lord Willoughby sends his compliments and requests that you talk to him at your earliest convenience. He's sent out by the king himself.
You can return his compliments and tell him to go to the devil. I'm not convenient to any friend of the king.
Aye, sir.
Oh, wait. I'm going on deck. Jeremy, take this lady to her cabin and see that she stays there.
Aye, sir.
How you hate the fellow. If I were a young man, blast me if I wouldn't be jealous. And you said you didn't even know him.
He was once my slave.
Your slave? Then you must have known him well.
I did.
He doesn't seem such a bad fellow for a pirate.
In those days, I thought him an unfortunate gentleman who had suffered a great injustice. When he made his escape, I was thrilled and happy. That was before I knew how he would use his freedom.
Not to argue with you, my dear, but how else could he have used his freedom? An escaped slave, a homeless convict. And aren't you forgetting that a man's bitter heart may demand its revenge?
That's the unforgivable thing, to have held his revenge above all else and so to have destroyed himself, for he has. I've seen pirates. I know what they are. Cruel, evil, greedy, plundering peaceful cities, torturing their captives. Beasts out of hell they are.
Are you so much in love with him?
In love with him?
To care so much what he does?
I don't care in the least what he does.
Someone should for what he's doing now. Still, your uncle commands a fleet at Port Royal. That much is fortunate.
Why? What's this about Port Royal and my uncle?
He amazes me, this Peter Blood. That's where he means to take us.
No, he can't.
I'm afraid he can if he wants to. They won't let me near him. He's alone on his quarterdeck in a fine Irish temper, I expect. But I learned from the pilot...
Lord Willoughby, he mustn't.
Mustn't take you to your home? To your uncle?
He has no more bitter enemy in the world. My uncle is a hard, unforgiving man. He lives in the hope of one day taking and hanging Captain Blood. Captain Blood probably doesn't know that, of course.
I doubt it would make any difference if he did. He's chivalrous to the point of idiocy.
And yet he's been what he has been these last 3 years. And done what he's done. Oh, Lord Willoughby, help me.
I see your point, my child. But it's something you'll have to decide for yourself. Life can be infernally complex.
Ahoy, below! Ahoy, below! I said it! Port Royal, Captain! Port Royal? Aye, but there's something amiss. I see flashes of gunfire from ships in the harbor.
All hands on deck.
All hands on deck.
What's wrong, Captain?
There's a battle in progress in the harbor.
Ahoy, love! How many ships do you make out? 2, sir! They are firing on the fortress! The fortress is replying!
It's an attack attack on Port Royal, then, but who?
Pirate craft, perhaps. I wish I could make out their flags.
Captain Blood.
Aye?
For days I've been trying to see you, Captain. And now, if I may speak to so inaccessible a person, perhaps I can supply you the answer.
You can?
If Port Royal is attacked, they are likely French ships.
French? Why French ships?
When two countries are at war and one is attacked, who would it be but the enemy?
England and France at war?
You mean you didn't know? Where have you been the past 2 months?
At sea. Out of touch with the world.
Ahoy! Below! The fire from the fortress is weakening! One ship is already firing on the town!
But where is the English fleet that's supposed to protect the town?
I can supply the answer to that. It's out chasing pirates.
Bishop wouldn't let his fleet leave its post at time of war. He wouldn't dare.
No? Colonel Bishop is a very old, and I may say a very dear friend of mine. It's probably me he's after.
Fool planter.
And me in his own front yard. Hard aport with the helm, Jeremy.
Aye.
Helmsman, hard aboard! Aye, sir!
May I ask, Captain, what are your intentions?
I set out to land you at Port Royal, your lordship, at some risk to myself from the English fleet. Now a stroke of luck has removed them from the picture. Well, we best be turning back.
Can you, an Englishman, be thinking of leaving when yonder an English town is being taken?
Well, of what should we be thinking?
Of the honor to fight for your king.
To fight for my king, is it? You hear that, lad? The honor, is it? It's not a word to use in the same breath with him, and furthermore, he's not my king.
Then you fail to show him the same loyalty he shows you.
Loyalty now. Honor and loyalty. Fine words to describe him.
He was loyal enough to send me to seek you out, to offer you pardon for your past crimes, freedom from your slavery, and more than that, a commission in his own navy for you and your men.
What?
The king wants us to join his navy?
You can read the document for yourself, Captain Blood.
I wouldn't soil my hands with it.
I'd rot before I'd serve him.
However you hate the king, England is still England.
And a bad king's a bad king, and if he's James, he's worse.
James! This commission is sent by King William.
King William? Who may be King William?
I allude to His Majesty King William III, William of Orange, who with Queen Mary has come over from the Netherlands and has been ruling England these past 2 months or more.
Do you mean they've roused themselves at home and kicked out James?
Yes, and he's fled to France and is hiding there. And therefore, England and France are at war.
And King William sent us this commission?
He did. He knows that you are good men, wrongfully sold into slavery. He can use good men in his navy.
Why didn't you tell me that at once? Men, you've heard the news. For me, this changes the shape of the world. For you who are slaves with me, it means that we're no longer slaves, but once more have a home and a country. For you who are English, it means a chance to fight for your native land. For I now propose to sail into Port Royal and save it from the French. Those of you who are not Englishmen, you'll have to be content with fighting for Captain Blood. And for the loot you'll find on the French ship. Are you willing to fight, men? Then to your posts. Helmsman, hard about. Full sail and straight ahead for Port Royal. Stand fast there. Now the starboard broadside. Fire!
There goes the lead now! We have him yet, Captain. One of their boats is on the run.
You'll not get far. She's crippled.
I will take them both.
You've England's thanks, Captain Blood, and my admiration. Never have I seen victory so gallantly snatched from defeat.
It was a good fight. But Miss Bishop, where is she? Is she safe?
Safe and sound. You'll find her now at the governor's mansion. That is, if you're looking for her.
Looking for her? Aye, that I am. Good evening.
Peter Blood. I thought you'd gone.
But Faith, I've only just arrived.
But you can't stay here. My uncle's just returned.
Yes, I know.
You know. Well, what are you going to do?
Just stay here.
Oh, no. It's impossible. You mustn't stay here. He's sworn he'll hang you.
Well, I doubt if he will. I've always been bad luck for your uncle.
But you can't know the threats he's made. His whole life is spent in searching for you.
Well, now he's found me.
Well, you can still save yourself. Please, please, for my sake.
For your sake?
I'll hide you.
What do you mean, for your sake? Isn't it true that you hate me?
Hate you?
Or is it that you love me?
I'll hide you, and tonight, when it's dark, I'll find some way.
You love me, don't you? Don't you?
Whom else would I love?
You love me.
Yes. Now will you go?
Arabella.
Please. He'll be here any minute. I'll hide you somewhere and...
We'll hide together. I know just the place.
Where?
Here.
Peter, this is my uncle's office, the office of the governor.
Good.
Well, he'll come here first.
Oh, I forgot to tell you. The governor and I are on the best of terms now. The very best of terms. Sometimes I think I'm the best friend he has in the world. When did you find out you love me?
Oh, you must be mad.
He's a nice man, the governor, you know. He lets me come and go here as I please. In fact, look, he even lets me sit in his chair. See?
Listen, my uncle, he's coming through the streets now. They're cheering him.
Cheering, is it? That's a strange kind of cheering, I'm thinking.
Take your hands off me, you rogues. I have arrested you by order of His Excellency the Governor.
The governor? You're mad. I am the governor. You mean you were the governor? But you've changed that in your absence. Bishop, you're removed from office for abandoning your post in time of war.
Who the devil are you?
My name is Willoughby. I'm a special emissary from His Majesty the King.
Lord Willoughby?
You were informed, I think, of my coming.
Oh, yes, yes.
And yet you went off on some wild goose chase after a pirate, leaving your capital to the mercy of the enemy. It's a serious matter, Colonel Bishop, as you may find.
But your lordship...
I'm not concerned to hear your reasons, man. His Excellency the Governor will hear you.
The governor?
You'll find him inside the house. It rests entirely with him, whether you're hanged or not.
This is one more item to the account of that scoundrel Blood. By heaven, what a reckoning there'll be when we meet.
Oh, come in, Uncle.
Arabella, what are you doing in this office?
I've been pleading with the governor on your behalf, asking him to be as merciful as you would be cruel.
The governor? Where is he?
Here I am, Colonel Darling.
Peter Blood, you?
I? The new governor by the king's order.
Well,
And by my order, I command that for your neglect of duty...
No, in heaven's name,
That for your neglect of duty, you're to be punished by accepting as nephew one Peter Blood, one-time pirate.
What?
Arabella, may I put my arm about you?
If you wish.
Oh, Faith, you're as pretty as a May Day sky.
Wait, I don't understand this.
You don't need to understand. Uncle, you're excused.
And so we ring down our curtain on Captain Blood, but not on Errol Flynn and Olivia de Havilland, who return to us in a few moments. Douglas MacLean is one of the 4 or 5 major stars of silent days, still most prominently identified with films. He starred in such pictures as The Hottentot, 7 Keys to Baldpate, and 23.5 Hours Leave. Then he turned producer, sponsoring So Red the Rose, Accent on Youth, and Mrs. Wiggs of the Cabbage Patch, to name a few. Today he is head of Douglas MacLean Productions, whose pictures are released by Grand National, the most recent of which is Great Guy, starring James Cagney. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Douglas MacLean.
Thank you, Bart.
Isn't it true, Doug, that some 8 years ago you retired from pictures? But here you are, still in the midst of them.
Yes, I tried retirement for a while, but I discovered there's too much celluloid in my system to swear off completely.
And now, with Great Guy under your belt, I understand you're hard at work on a new version of 23.5 Hours Leave. But who's going to play the part that you made so famous? Sergeant Gray.
James Ellison, the young actor who did such a splendid job in Mr. DeMille's Plainsman. And Jimmy is giving an excellent performance in 23.5 Hours Leave, a part which offers him his greatest opportunity.
Remaking this film must bring back many memories of Hollywood of the old days. Things must have changed tremendously.
Yes, everything has changed, including the weather. Today, Hollywood Boulevard is one of the busiest streets on the West Coast. But I recall a conversation with Charlie Chaplin, who stood on one side of the boulevard, and I on the other, calmly discussing our new pictures.
Interesting, but how could you hear each other with all the traffic noise?
Well, the only noise then was the sound of oranges growing in the groves that lined the boulevard. In those days, Western pictures were at their height. And cowboy actors would spend the morning being photographed on horseback, chasing invisible Indians or shooting them from behind rocks and trees. And then after lunch, these same actors would be dressed and painted as Indians. And they'd be filmed running away from invisible cowboys. When the picture was screened, it was not unusual for the same actor dressed as the cowboy to shoot himself dressed as the Indian. Actors were very versatile in those days.
You've been in pictures for 20 years, Doug. But no one will believe it, judging from your looks.
Pardon me, did you say looks or lux?
Oh, good going. And since we're on the subject of Lux soap, why not a word about what Hollywood studios think about it?
I'll do better than that, Bart. I'll say 2 words. It's tops.
Thank you. And now, from your experience as an actor, director, writer, and producer, what's your opinion of radio in Hollywood?
Radio has probably become the biggest asset to motion pictures in the past year or so. I believe each helps the other, so long as entertainment maintains the standard set by the Lux Radio Theater. In the silent days, actors like polite little boys and girls were seen but not heard. But now you hear them whether you see them or not. Thank you.
Bye, Doug. As a consistent Lux listener, I know this is the time when Mr. DeMille calls forth the stars to shine again, and so shall I. Ladies and gentlemen, Errol Flynn and Olivia de Havilland.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall, for a most enjoyable evening. Nowadays, we're all inclined to look upon a life as adventurous as that of Captain Blood as being entirely to the romantic past. But our friend, Mr. Flynn, can put some of those old-timers to shame.
And what have you to say to that, Errol?
Well, life is still rather primitive over there in New Guinea. I spent 6 years in the islands, first as a patrol officer of the constabulary. If you can picture me as a cop, you'll realize about how primitive the place must have been.
And what happened after that, Constable Flynn?
Well, I grew a beard and became a beachcomber. When I got tired of combing the beach and the beard, I traded a bit in pearls. After that, I got hold of a schooner and went in the copra business.
Errol wouldn't tell you that he's written a book about another voyage he made, but he has. It's called Beam Ends. It's just been published, and a very fine book it is. Errol, you're leaving tonight on a new trip, aren't you?
Yes, flying to New York in an hour, and then I sail for Europe. I hope to get a look at the Spanish War, and on the way home, perhaps spend a few weeks in South America. But that's enough, I think. How about you, Olivia?
Well, after working in 2 pictures with me, Errol, you should know what a singularly uneventful life I lead. But it's a very happy one. And I'm looking forward to making a picture soon with Leslie Howard. And then next summer, if things turn out as I hope they will, I plan to spend 3 whole months touring the country in an automobile and really seeing what the United States look like. And now, before I say goodbye, I'd like to congratulate the sponsors of this program for their marvelous product, Lux Toilet Soap. It's the finest complexion care I know of, and whenever girls ask my advice, I always recommend it. Thank you.
Goodbye, Bart. Many thanks.
To both of you, all the luck in the world.
Thank you, Mr. Haviland, Mr. Flynn, and Mr. Marshall. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your announcer, Melville Roy. Before Mr. Marshall tells us of next week's program, may I say that Mr. Flynn, Mr. Haviland, Mr. Rathbone, and Mr. Crisp appeared through courtesy of Warner Brothers, Mr. Marshall, RKO, and Columbia Studios, and will next be seen with Marlena Dietrich in The Angel. Mr. Silvers is from 20th Century Fox, where he was in charge of music for the new film Love is News. And now, Herbert Marshall.
Next Monday night, when you and I tune in the Lux Radio Theater, we'll find Cecil B. DeMille resuming his regular place at the helm, bringing us a star and story warm to our hearts. The story will be Peter B. Kine's Cappy Ricks. In the title role, one of the finest character actors of the stage, screen, and radio. A man beloved by millions throughout the country. Ladies and gentlemen, Charles Winninger. And with Mr. Winninger, Richard Allen and Sally Eilers. And now I join the makers of Lux Toilet Soap in inviting you to listen in again next Monday night, when the Lux Radio Theater, here in Hollywood, presents Charles Winninger, Richard Allen, and Sally Eilers in Cappy Ricks, with Cecil B. DeMille back again as producer. This is Herbert Marshall bidding you all good night.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.